I could love a girl, whether it was love or lust, I don't know. But everything that I lusted or loved or ever thought I want, it was wrapped up in her. We started dating our senior year. Things got progressively from holding hands to hugging to kissing. You know the biological hanger nail ladder, right? First time we were intimate, she was pregnant. I had a scholarship to football, had a scholarship for baseball, full ride. She had scholarships to any college she wanted. She scored a 34 on her ATC, brilliant. We were going to get married, but just not yet. So I went home and told my mom and dad that I loved her. Of course, you know, your mom and dad say you don't have to marry her. We can take care of this. You can get an abortion. That wasn't an option for me. It wasn't an option for her because at the time she really believed she was a Christian. She was Baptist and I was Catholic. Back in that day, even now, Baptist and Catholic believe so many things different. Her dad, when she had to tell her dad, he said, "Sweetheart, I love you. You can do whatever you want. You do not have to marry him. I'll take care of the babe and I'll take care of you. You can finish your education and you can go on with your life." And she said, "No, Dad, I love him." So we got married at 17. We went back to school the following Monday after our wedding. All my scholarships were pulled. All her accolades were pulled. All her scholarships were pulled. Our names were taken out of the yearbook. We got Mr. and Miss OFA that year, stripped of that. Most likely to succeed, stripped of that. Met by two teachers in the hallway saying, "You are a total disappointment. You and her will never make it. You're a failure. I love you enough to tell you you've disappointed us in the school." We were literally not ostracized. We still had friends, teachers. Immediately, we went and got our GED. Immediately, I went to work providing for my wife and I. Hurt my mom very much. My dad hurt her mom and her dad very much. And girls, I can only tell you, you know what I'm talking about because Debbie does. Every time I tell this testimony, she cries because of the shame that I put her through because she got pregnant. Boys, it's not as bad as you socially, but it should be. It ought to be worse on you socially because you're too busy doing things you're not supposed to be doing and telling girls things you shouldn't be telling them to get what you want. And as I got older, that's what happened. And it finally caught up with Debbie and I, and we had Todd, my firstborn. Then we had Brendan. I can only tell you, please don't let Satan say, "See, it worked out for Randy and Debbie. I can live the way I want." No, you don't want to go there. You know, it's always part of a girl's dream to wear a dress, wedding dress, the wedding, and all that. Didn't have it. Small wedding, small family. I worked with my dad. That didn't work out real well, so I moved to United Gas Pipeline in Gramercy, Louisiana. So I picked up my wife and I moved 80 miles away. And there in Gramercy, Louisiana, I attended a church one time. It's a mortal sin for a Catholic to visit any other church. So it's a big deal for me. I went into the church, just a gray-haired preacher, preaching out of Matthew, called me a sinner. I said, "Whoa, dude, I'm a Catholic, man. I'm going to heaven." I really thought that I was going to heaven because I believed in God, because I knew about God, and because he knew about me. I wasn't near as bad as you or you or you, so he'd weigh my good against the bad and I'd get in. But that man opened the Bible that I believed, but I never read. That man opened the Bible and he showed me in the Bible where I was wrong. And that man gave an invitation, first invitation I've ever heard. And my knuckles were on that pew so hard. And when I came down, I accepted the Lord. My wife almost passed out. She didn't know what to do. She was 22, 23. I walked down that aisle and I knelt down and I asked Jesus Christ to come into my life. I knew about him all my life, church, guys, girls. I knew about him all my life. I've even prayed to him with different prayers, different things. It was stopping at the wall. Never had a relationship with him. Just knew it up here. That day when I asked him to come in my life and ruin my life, and I finally trusted in the cross of Christ and what he did for me, and I couldn't get myself to heaven and asked him, he's never left me. At the age of 22, I never have been the same. But life happens, right? I continued to work at United Gas Pipeline for probably 8 years. And in that 8-year stint, I went from making this much to making a whole lot of money. And I felt the Lord calling me into the ministry. I remember one night going to Supermart, and I had some bass baits and stuff, and God said, why don't you go buy you another fishing rod? Go buy you another bass boat. That ain't going to get it. I want you to serve me. So I can serve you, Lord. I'm a youth minister. He goes, no, I want you to serve me full time. Don't ask me how I know that. Don't ask me. I didn't hear it verbally. It was just something in my heart. And I was miserable at my job that I once was happy at. I told Debbie, sweetheart, tonight after dinner, I got to talk to you about something. It took her 2 hours to wash dishes that night because she said she saw something in me that I didn't see. In that change, I quit cussing. In that change, I started loving her. Totally different man. Started going to church, started praying, started reading the Bible. I would witness to an oak tree. Dude, I'm not kidding you. I didn't have a lot of bridleness, but I had a lot of boldness. Hey, you need to accept Jesus. You're going to go to hell. Now God's given me a lot more wisdom and a lot more love and a lot more sympathy. But man, I was just unbelievably on fire for the Lord. So he called me into full-time ministry. And I had a chance to go to Luther Rice in Florida with Debbie, who's a Florida babe, man. She's blonde hair, blue eyes. She loves the beach. Oh, I think the Lord's calling us to Luther Rice, Florida. I said, sweetheart, I think he's calling me to Dallas. She goes, Dallas? I said, yeah. So I went to school in Dallas. We had to sell the boat, the truck, the trailer, the property, and I had to resign. I did that in 2 weeks. There must have been 30 trailers up for sale in our trailer park where we lived in. It was for sale for $10,000. Some lady came in my driveway at 8 o'clock on a Saturday morning and said, is this house for sale? Duh, you see the sale sign, 8 o'clock in the morning. Yes, ma'am, it's for sale. She goes, I'm just coming in from Dallas. And my son and I need a place to stay. I have $10,000 cash. And I can give it to you. And you can stay here for 3 weeks. And then I'll be here in 3 weeks. She gave me the money. I gave her the title. She let me stay there for 3 weeks. The next day, my bass boat sold. The next day, I resigned. I took my wife and my 2 sons. And we went to Dallas for my schooling. Fast forward 22 years in the ministry at Hillview Baptist Church. I'm the same guy that you see now, but I'm a totally different guy than I was a year and a half ago. You see, my mom passed away. My dad passed away. My mom passed away at 68. My dad passed away at 72. He was an alcoholic. She was the sweetest woman I've ever known. Then Debbie's dad passed away. For those of you who've been in the church ministry scene, you know you have friends today and you may not have them tomorrow. It all depends. If you preach something that they like or they don't like something going around in church, you can lose friends in a hurry. And if you don't think you can lose friends in a hurry, when you leave here and you start living for Christ, watch how many friends you lose. Just watch it. It's coming. Well, fast forward a little bit more. Debbie and I have been married 36 years. And of course, we get in I love her. She loves me. We get in our ruts. We get in our routines. And my son came to be a minister of youth at Hillview Baptist Church. I didn't feel good about that. Church wanted that to happen. They voted him in. He came in. First year and a half, he probably won 36 students to the Lord. Wonderful job. Did an unbelievable job. Everything was going fine. And then everything went south. He started reading the internet. Started reading Rob Bell. Started reading the scriptures aren't real, started watching the History Channel, prophet books, different books, all these hidden books, and he started changing. He said, Dad, I don't believe this anymore. I don't believe there's a hell. And I want you to let me teach that in Sunday school. I said, not going to happen. That's my son. He goes, Dad, I don't believe in the giving of the tithe anymore. I want to teach. I said, nah, not going to happen. He goes, Dad, I don't believe it's wrong to be a homosexual. I think you ought to let homosexuals teach in our church. I said, nah, it's not going to happen. And we'd have discussions. I said, son, you're going to have to make a decision. You're going to have to make a decision to adhere to the doctrine of the Bible, or you got to resign as minister of youth at Hillview Baptist Church. Well, he decided to resign as minister at Hillview Baptist Church. And when he did that, he wrote his mom and I a letter saying he don't have anything to do with us, keeps the grandchildren away from us. We live 1 mile apart from him, and we got to mail all Christmas gifts to him. We are not allowed to see him. We're not allowed to talk to him. We're not allowed to do anything with him. If I see him in Walmart, they'll both turn the other way and walk the other way. I didn't know what was happening to me, church. Brothers and sisters, I'm telling you, Doug was calling me and said, hey, man, I need you to come to camp. I said, dude, if you only knew, in my mind, dude, you can't. I didn't know what was going on in my life, but I guess I had depression. Didn't know what was going on. Me, depressed, guys, there's no way. You can't be depressed doing something that you love. Yeah, you can. Didn't know what was going on. Didn't know what was happening in my life. Me and Deb started having some ruts, and I started coming home crying, and I would cry 2 to 3 hours a day because all the stuff that has happened. And you know, those of you who are in ministry, y'all pray for Doug, pray for his wife, pray for Dave, pray for people in ministry. You have no idea what they go through every day. You have no idea the problems and the counseling and all the organization it takes to make something like this happen. And then you please somebody and you don't please anybody. Everybody's always got an opinion. Things start to work on you, and all of a sudden, I got depressed. This guy, right, that you see before you right now, 5 months ago, let me tell you what I was doing. I went to State Farm Insurance. My insurance to $1 million. And me being a minister, me having suicidal thoughts, you're thinking, surely not. I can't be a Christian. How can that be? I had to watch what I did around Debbie. When Debbie would go to work, I would just break down and cry. I'd go to church when everything got real, real bad or anxious. I'd have to go out and I'd have to cry by a tree. I wasn't making it. I wasn't functioning right. Didn't know what was going on. I didn't have any hope of getting out. I wasn't going to kill myself physically because that would look bad on the ministry, right? Can't have a pastor commit suicide. My family's always had a humorous bet that I was going to die in a car wreck anyway because of the way I drive. So I upped my insurance, and I had planned to go to Longview one day and find the first 18-wheeler and just pull out in front of it and end my life. That way Debbie could have got the insurance, and she'd have been better off without me. Then I had a lady come in my office that her fiance committed suicide, and she found him. She began to cry. I began to cry. She goes, what's the matter, Brother Randy? I've known her since she was this high. I couldn't help her because I was depressed. She hugged me. I hugged her, and I brought her to another counselor, and God says, you need help. That next Sunday, I stood before the church and told them that I was depressed. I told them that. That very Sunday, I had 5 people from the church come to me and say, we have been where you are. There's hope. It's just called a simple thing called depression. You can take medicine. You can come out of it. I didn't believe I could come out of it. I was at the bottom of the pit. The day that I told the church that I was depressed, I got a phone call right after church telling me the girl that I'd been counseling, who was in a lesbian relationship, had severed that relationship, and I'd been counseling with her for 3 months. She ended all the affairs with that girl. And we had been counseling. She had recently said that she was going back to the affair partner. And I said, Kayla, please don't. You know that's wrong. She goes, I know it's wrong, but I'm going to do what I want to do. And I said, that's fine. I'm going to be praying for you. And I love you. I went and told the mom and dad. Well, that day that I told the church that I was depressed, her mom and dad gave me a call and told me that morning that Kayla had got married to that girl. And my son did the wedding. I live in the same town with him, guys. Everybody knew, everybody knows. Made my depression worse. The next Sunday, kind of had a come to Jesus meeting with God. I made a decision for the Lord at 22. But everything that had happened in my life, you know how it is, guys, you know how it is, girls, you accept the Lord and you go through life and life hits you hard and you're thinking, how can I be a Christian if I think like that, if I do like that? How can I want to quit the ministry? How come I got to cry all day? What's going on with me? This depression in my life. I really, for the very first time, started doubting my own salvation. Bad enough to pray 4 and 5 hours a day. Guys, I used to weigh 245 pounds. I lost 48 pounds in 2.5 months. Couldn't eat. All the church was getting worried about me. And that Sunday morning, I stood up in front of the church and told them that I doubted my salvation. And I wanted to nail it down. I talked to them about doubters in the Bible, and I had been doubting my salvation. And I couldn't take another day of doubting who I was. I made a decision at the age of 22. And by all things, I probably was absolutely saved at that time. But all this doubt, all this stuff going on in my life, I couldn't listen to the devil any longer. I couldn't listen to the world in my flesh any longer. I love us all this time, all the people you've led to the Lord, all this. He goes, be quiet, don't try to convince me. I said, listen, I'm doubting it to the point where I can't continue in ministry. And I want to shut him up. I just said, Lord, I cannot do this anymore. And I told the church that I doubted, and I was going to accept the Lord Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior to shut Satan up. And I asked the head deacon back there to baptize me, and he said he would feel honored to do. Not back there in our church. He stood up and began to cry, and he said, I'd be honored to baptize you. The whole church was stunned. We lost 2 couples that morning because they couldn't sit under a pastor who had just been saved. And I told the church, I said, listen, I had all these questions. We just had a stand-up time in our church. We are a loving family. I've been there for 22 years. And they said, Brother Randy, we don't understand. And this is how I explained it to them. This is how I explained it to them. I said, I really believe I was saved at 22. They said, Brother Randy, all these sermons, all the